The Halos 2023 schedule was released last week, and there's some interesting games that we're going to be playing next season. We're going to talk all about it. Julio Rodriguez actually signed a new contract, and we're going to talk about the impact it may have on Shohei Ohtani. And speaking of Ohtani, some knucklehead said that he should play first base, so we're going to wrestle through that as well. You're Locked On with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can give us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to the show and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode drops.
Happy Tuesday to you. You've got the Frisch Brothers, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros, here on Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John. And John, it's going to be a great episode because I've got my classic Timmy Salmon. I got this gift from a friend. So it's going to be a good episode. If you're watching on YouTube, you see it. If you're not watching on YouTube, it's the classic 90s Angels jersey. Tim Salmon version, of course, the only jersey that you should wear from the 90s. So
I don't know. I'd wear Chuck Finley. I'd wear Mark Langston. I'd wear Jim Abbott. You got GA.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, fine.
That's fine.
Hey, let's get into the conversation here about the Angels schedule that was released last week. It looks like the Angels will be starting their 63rd consecutive game on opening day in Oakland. Oh, that's not right. Never mind. My bad.
No, 63rd season, John.
Yes. Is that true? 63rd season opening day game in Oakland?
How about that?
I thought that was a joke.
It does feel like we're opening up in Oakland again, right? I think this is the, the fifth time in 7 seasons that the Angels are going to be starting the season at the Oakland Coliseum. And it's the first time in MLB history that any team begins the season in the same road ballpark at least 5 times in a 7-year span.
Well, and the only reason it didn't happen last season was because of the lockout. Like we were going to be on the road and had to make up some games against the Mariners and Oakland. And we opened at home in 2021, but that was weird because there was COVID rules still. So you couldn't pack out the stadium. Of course, they did reopening day later on in the year, but come on, man. Why do we have to do this every single year?
Yeah. Well, then in Oakland, it'll still feel like it's COVID rules are being implied because there'll be 2,300 people there, right?
That's right. And the drum circle.
Yes.
It is nice to open against Oakland because, they haven't been very good this season. And I imagine that's going to continue for the next year or two. They're working on a rebuild, but I wish that we could open at home against them. I love opening day at Angel Stadium. It's one of my favorite things I've ever been to. In fact, you and I and our brothers held the American flag during the opening ceremonies an opening day one year. That was Pujols' first game, right?
That's right. You're right. Dang, that was so long ago. We are true Americans and true Angel fans. We held the flag at Angel Stadium. Don't question us. That's right. It was Pujols' first season. I remember we were stoked about that too because we were so excited about Pujols. We were so excited about the team. And then plus you got to be on the field. And I reached down and grabbed a couple of blades of grass and put it in my pocket just because it's Angel Stadium grass. And so it's dead now. It's been 10 years, but
well, they're still coming to arrest you for that. So
okay, great. That's good to know. Well, speaking of the Angels being at home, they're actually going to open up at home against the Toronto Blue Jays on April 7th. And maybe we can sweep them again like we did this weekend. Angels play a franchise record 46 interleague games next year, Johnny.
Yes.
They play 4 against the Dodgers, which we, of course, expect, and 3 against each of the other 14 National League teams. So the way the schedule is kind of wired this next season is that the Halos, American League teams, National League teams, there's not going to be like you're just playing them and then every once in a while you'll play a team from a different league. They've mixed the schedule all together, so it actually is going to be kind of equal playing all the way through. I don't know how I feel about that because some of the teams that we'll be playing are really difficult teams, and it'd be nice to have those games against maybe more of the West or more of the bottom feeders in the American League. How do you feel about that?
I'm looking forward to just seeing different teams and the different matchups, and I think it's good for the game of baseball. And plus, while we are going to face difficult National League teams, we are going to face those Pirates teams, right?
Yes,
we are going to face those kinds of teams that are not doing so hot lately. You know, who knows what they'll look like next season, but I will say that as for each team that's going to be difficult, like the Dodgers, of course, we're going to be playing them in the Freeway Series. We're going to have a pair of games at Angel Stadium on June 20th and 21st. Then they'll go to Dodger Stadium on July 7th and 8th, kind of like how they did this past season in 2022. And that'll conclude the first half. And then the home schedule has a pair of 10-day, 9-game homestands, the first of which includes games against the Twins, May 19th through 21st, the Red Sox, May 22nd through the 24th, and the Marlins, May 26th through the 28th. And then there's a second 9-game homestand that takes place immediately after the All-Star break, in which the Angels take on the Astros the 14th through the 16th of July, the Yankees the 17th through the 19th. So 2 expectedly difficult teams. And then, like I mentioned, the Pirates on July 21st through the 23rd. So a couple of long homestands next season. So that'll be interesting in terms of how the Angels will perform before and after the All-Star break like that.
It'll be fun to see O'Neal Cruz, if he's still with the Pirates, unless they trade him away. But that'll be fun to see him because he's kind of been a game changer for them, and that guy has got a rocket on his arm, like for his arm. Like he's incredible. Rocket for an arm. You know what the heck you're doing. And then the road schedule actually features 2 different 3-city trips. So from July 25 to August 2nd, we're going to Detroit, Toronto, and Atlanta. And that actually could be a great, maybe difficult road trip because Toronto always seems to be good. And Atlanta, of course, is always really good. And who knows where Detroit will actually land. And then from August 25 to September 3rd, we're playing the Mets, the Phillies, and then we're going to Oakland. And then we conclude the regular season on October 1st versus Oakland. And it marks the first time since 2019 that we're actually finishing the calendar year, the baseball year, at Angel Stadium. So we don't start there, but we do actually get the final game at home at the Big A. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's against Oakland too. So it's kind of bookending the season with Oakland and against Oakland.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that they are changing things up. You know, in the past it's been, hey, you're going to play one division from the National League, and that rotates every year, right? But sometimes you end up on the East Coast, and the East Coast team doesn't come out this way, and then sometimes they do. So that's always a fun matchup. Like this year, we had the Marlins come to Angel Stadium, and so that was great. In the past, we've had the Braves here, but we went to Atlanta this season. And then, of course, you always have your crosstown matchups. Like the Yankees are going to take on the Mets, and the Oakland A's are going to take on the Giants, and we get to take on the Dodgers. So that's going to be a lot of fun as well. So I do appreciate that they've changed things up. The one issue I do have is that no matter where you're watching your team, if they come to town or they go to a visiting town, you're still going to get blacked out by MLB because of their dumb restrictions.
They need to figure that out because the NFL has figured that out, and the NFL has a growing audience. And so baseball needs to figure that out because it's ridiculous that they're going to black you out. I have a friend who is in Arizona, and he was blacked out because he was considered a part of the blackout area. And he's like, I'm 500 miles away. Yes, he's 500 miles away, but they said that you are in the blackout zone. And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm in the Diamondbacks blackout zone. Right. And nobody wants to watch them. I want to watch the Halos.
And they weren't playing the Diamondbacks?
No, they weren't.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. They got to figure that out, man. There's no reason why the MLB TV app shouldn't be one price. It's pricey enough, but give people access to the teams that they want to watch. It's just crazy.
Coming up on Locked On Angels, would you put Ohtani at first base? We'll tell you why it's a good idea and why it's a terrible idea. But first, Locked On Angels is brought to you by LinkedIn. As you gear up for the fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. And that's why LinkedIn Jobs is here. They make it easier to find the people that you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond your network to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring so that your network can help you find the right people to hire. There are simple tools like screening questions that make it easier to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to hire and interview. And it's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to and help you find them faster. Did you know that nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn every single day? And you can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. And there are terms and conditions that do apply.
We want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day, but let's head up north to some interesting news that kind of affects our Halos, Mike, and that is Julio Rodriguez, the young rookie outstanding player for the Seattle Mariners, Mr. J-Rod. He has worked himself out a deal with Jerry DiPoto's Mariners. According to Jeff Passan tweeted the details. The deal could be for, get this, 8, 13, 16, or 18 years.
Wow.
It guarantees Rodriguez $210 million. If it maxes out, it will be the largest ever at $470 million.
Whew, dang. That's a lot of money. That's
right?
A whole lot of money. More than Trout. Wow, that's incredible. So the base of the deal, Johnny, is 8 years, $120 million.
Mm-hmm.
And it includes this season. It runs through 2029. After 2028, the Mariners must decide whether to pick up a club option. The size and the length of that depends on Rodriguez's performance in, get this, MVP voting. So there's some incentives. I wonder how the Players Association feels about that. Obviously, they like it because he signed the deal, but the option is for 8 or 10 years on top of the original deal. So depending on how Rodriguez fares in the MVP voting, how many times he wins, or at least where he finishes in the top 5, top 3, it can range between $200 million and $350 million.
Wow.
And if the Mariners pick up the option, Rodriguez's guarantee in the deal is at least $320 million. Johnny, if the Mariners don't pick up the option after year 7, then Rodriguez has a player option. Are you following me? A player option for year 8, and he can actually enact the option, which would give him 5 more years and $90 million, which brings the whole contract to 13 years with here's the floor, $210 million. He could turn it down, and he could hit free agency right after his 30th birthday, too. So did you get all that? Were you writing that down?
This has Jerry DiPoto nonsense written all over it. Good grief, man. Like,
your face is great.
There's a lot of incentives here, and there's a lot of, good things here for both sides. But, like, just based on you reading it and how complicated it is, like, Jerry, what a Jerry DiPoto masterclass.
If you bat left-handed only on games that end.
DiPoto's going to depote, and that's exactly what he did. He depoted all over this contract here.
Yeah.
The likeliest outcome here, Mike, Julio Rodriguez is a Seattle Mariner through 2037, and he makes at least $320 million, maybe even more. And if he turns into a monster that he's shown his rookie season, it could be the most financially lucrative deal in American sports history. And I got to say, to do this for a star rookie and just say, hey, we want you as part of this team for the years to come and for the foreseeable future, I appreciate that. I think that's really cool. That. And it's like we're centering this team around you, and you're worth this. So I think that's a great move, even though DiPoto likes to complicate things that way. But now the question is this an interesting structure to where we could apply this to a Shohei Ohtani contract? Now, obviously, it might not go as long as this Julio contract, given Ohtani is in his late 20s. But what about the options and incentives? First of all, you could lock him up for 5 years, give him some options to get out at year 2 and year 3, and allow him the option to make this deal longer if he decides to stay by adding 5 more years at a lucrative yearly salary. And maybe this kind of contract gives the Angels the salary relief at certain points while giving Ohtani the power to opt in or out. So it kind of works for everybody here in the sense that, we want to keep Ohtani around, but we also understand if he wants to hit the eject button, he has the opportunity to do so. However, if everything's going well and we all want to stick together, you kind of incentivize him to stay by adding those bonuses on the top. What's your take on that?
I like the structure of the player gets the opportunity to say, I want to stay here. I like that. I also like that the team can say after a few years, we want you to stay here, right? They can opt in as well. And I wonder if it would be wise to give Ohtani, 3 years, 4 years, maybe let's say 5 years, and you make the average annual value the ridiculous amount that has been thrown out there. But then you do give him options so that he can get out after year 2 or year 3, right? And then if at the end of the 5 years, Ohtani has been mashing, he's been great, then you give him an option, or maybe you even give the organization the option to say, hey, we'd love to lock you back up for another 5 years. Automatic. Here's what it means. It's already in the contract. And then maybe a part of that is Ohtani in his deal, if he signs this 5-year lucrative deal, he could say, I have the option of saying, yes, I want to opt in, but I want to renegotiate the money. Right. And so I wonder if that would work for him, because there's been a lot of talk about like he wants to win and he wants to get out. And of course, Angel fans have said we're probably going to lose this guy because he does want to win and he wants to get out. But I do think he really likes being here. He said he really likes being here. And if new ownership comes in and they're going to build around somebody, they should build around Ohtani. And it would be smart. We talked about this on yesterday's show. It would be smart and lucrative for the Angels to have him around because Ohtani brings eyeballs and he brings in dollar signs. And so I think that we'll probably see a interesting contract with Ohtani. I don't know if they'll put incentives like, hey, if he finishes this high in the MVP and all of those things, because the truth is, for as long as he plays, he's always going to be at least top 3 to top 5 in the MVP conversation. What do you think, Johnny? Do you think options? Do you think making it lucrative? Do you think long-term, short-term? Give me your Dipoto thoughts.
Well, I'm certainly not going to do that. Look, I have said it before. I think Ohtani has a 3 to 5 year window where he is still going to be the spectacular player that he is. So I think the Angels offer him something along those lines, but give him the option to opt out because obviously he wants to be here with this team. But like you said, he wants to win. And I think the best thing that you can do is pay him what he's worth, which is going to be a huge annual value, probably 40 to 50 million in between, something like that. And then I think giving him the option to leave if he chooses to do so to pursue another team, I think is more than reasonable because the Angels haven't proven to put a winning product on the field. Even though they've tried, we've had injuries and they haven't done enough to supplant those injuries and kind of fix those holes in the infield and the outfield when they happen. And the rotation is stronger because of Ohtani. So I just think that show him the deal that says, we want you to be here for the next 3 to 5 years because we really like you and we believe we can win with you. However, if the wheels fall off, you're more than welcome to opt out and take a contract with somebody else. And I would put that at like year 2 and beyond. So give him 1 year where he's guaranteed to stay, then year 2 where he stays as well. But after year 2, give him the chance to opt out each year in that contract, because I think it's only fair. And I think it's only fair to him for everything that he's given this team and everything he's been able to do for this team. But I want to see the Angels win with Ohtani and with Mike Trout. And I think they can do it. If they just pony up the dang money and pay for some good players next season, it could happen next year, right? And so it's just frustrating sometimes to think about the fact that, you know, somebody might not pony up the money, whether that's Artie Moreno or the next owner. I also would be careful to do this kind of contract the way that they've done with Julio Rodriguez because you have new ownership coming in. And maybe that's the new owner's job when they come in, is they'll be the ones to offer Shohei that kind of contract. But I think right now, if you keep it simple, keep it within 3 to 5 years and give him the chance to opt out, I think that's a reasonable contract. And by the time new ownership takes over, you'll be able to negotiate with Shohei then.
Johnny, you already mentioned it, but we'll talk about it one more time. There's been a lot of injuries. Walsh has been somebody that he's been playing hurt. We finally found out why he's been playing hurt and what's been going on inside of his body. And so he's out, potentially out, at least obviously for the rest of the year, maybe even the beginning of next year. And so there has been some talk about, hey, well, what if we put Shohei Ohtani at first base? And so you and I are going to talk about why that's a good idea and a terrible idea. So I'm going to take the good idea because I know that you think it's a terrible idea. So let me start us here. Here's why it potentially, I'm going to say potentially, it is a good idea. It gives Trout the option to DH. And we know that Trout needs to get off of his feet. We know that Trout needs to be in the dugout when the team is on the field, that it could be great for his back. It could be great for his long-term success, his long-term health. Stop looking at me like that. And so that could be a great option for Trout. Second, there's some defensive flexibility. So you have like a Shohei at first base, and then you can actually maybe move some players around. You don't have to worry about, hey, what do we do with this guy? What do we do with the DH? You can move Trout and Adele and some of those guys into that DH slot. So it gives you some flexibility as to who's in your lineup, and it also gives you some flexibility as to who's in the outfield. And then number 3, you get a strong bat at first base. Ohtani's bat is fantastic, and he is going to always be fantastic. And he kind of has that Matt Olson feel, right? And so why not play first base? So that could be the good reasons, the potential good reasons. Now, John's going to be really reasonable and tell us why it's a terrible, terrible, awful idea.
There's no reason to put Ohtani in a position where he could get hurt and risk doing that with him, because he has such a routine when it comes to his pitching and his hitting that if you were to throw in this wrinkle to that routine, I would be very scared to find out what happens. He's playing a position on days that he's not pitching, which means there's more wear and tear on his body. And I think he already puts himself through enough. And that's not even to say the times that he fouls a ball off of his thigh or his calf or his foot, and
which
he's powering through
often,
that
right?
stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah.
The endurance, I mean, for pitching and hitting, that's got to be exhausting for Ohtani. And again, he's got his own routine, his own pregame workout and warmups that he goes through. And to just add another task to that list, I think would diminish his on-field competitiveness and his play, and it could be really depleting. I mean, we've seen him be tired during starts where he's had, kind of a dead arm in some of his pitching performances. I would hate to risk losing out on a Shohei pitching performance just because we needed somebody to catch a ball at first base, right?
Yeah.
And then I think about the first base is like the skipper position, right? Like it's the position that like the guy who's running that infield over there. I mean, you look at Walsh, and that guy is like a ballet master over there. He's stretching it out. We always joke that he does yoga because he's making plays like that. And Ohtani, I could see him succeeding at first base. I mean, it's not that I wouldn't want him to try it and just to see what it would be like, but I think the risk is too great. I think that the injury risk is too great. I think it's going to be wearing him down too much, and learning to play first and play it well. Like that's a whole different mental game than pitching and hitting. So it's just another element that would be part of the mental side of things that I wouldn't want to see Ohtani go through. I think he pitches just great and he hits just great, and let's leave it at that. So if there's anybody out there suggesting that he should play first, I don't know, guys. Sometimes
you shut your mouth, right?
I wasn't going to say it, but no, I just think we have so many more options. And to be honest, there's no reason if we mentioned this yesterday during our mailbag, but if Jared Walsh is not going to be available by the beginning of the season, the Angels have to go out and get somebody for that position. We can't we can't glue stick this together anymore, especially in this last year of Ohtani's guaranteed contract.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now make your second listen, the Locked On MLB podcast with MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan. John, did you know that he was like a director and a producer?
What?
I didn't know that. Yeah. Look it up on IMDb. Yeah, Sully's multi-talented. He brings his humor, his passion, and his unique perspective on every team and brings some of the biggest stories from around the league. You can follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
That wasn't like a school play, was it? Like directing, nothing like that. No,
I thought Sully's supposed to have the humor. That was good. A school play.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels. Keep up with the show and everything happening with our Halos. And of course, connect with Mike and I on Twitter and Instagram at Super Halo Bros. We'd love to see you there. Mike, what do we have on deck for Wednesday's show?
We're going to play a game called Who's In and Who's Out, Locked On Angels version. We're just going to go through the lineup. We're going to go through the infield, through the outfield, and we're going to tell you who should actually continue to play and who they need to boot into the sun or kick to the moon.
I can think of somebody.
We're going to tell you the players that should be playing for the rest of the year and the rest of the players that should be on the bench or maybe not even on the team. That's coming up tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
It's going to be a brutal conversation, and we hope you'll join us for that one. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
And we'll see you right back here tomorrow for more Locked On Angels.